All right, welcome back. So, the title of this mini lecture is Before the War, and we're going to look at five basic things that are factors, campaigns, things that are going on for the United States military generally before America's entry into the First World War. First off would be the Boxer Rebellion. So, in 1900, there is a large rebellion in China that has come to be referred to as the Boxer Rebellion. Generally, it's a rebellion in which Chinese individuals sought to fight against foreigners, primarily Westerners, and the influences that they were having in China. Now, there are a number of American civilians who are involved here, but by the summer of 1900, so July and August of 1900, you have contingents of U.S. forces that are deployed and take part in an international operation to put down this rebellion. It is violent, it is bloody, and all told, at one point there's something like 2,500 American troops that are deployed here under General Chaffee. Now, there's a contingent of U.S. troops that stick around once this is over as part of a guard, but generally after major combat operations sort of ended in later summer 1900, America's sort of participation here ends. Secondly, you've got what's called the route reforms. So the Secretary of War at the beginning of the 1900s was a guy by the name of Elihu Root. Great name, I know. And Elihu Root partly was amongst those who advocated for the creation of a more centralized, more structurally capable military from the top that would be able to better coordinate long-range military planning for the future. So there are a number of different reforms that are part of this, but perhaps the most noted of these is what's called the General Staff Act, which is passed in 1903. The goal of this to create a command and general staff that would be able to, engage in structural planning. Now, Congress doesn't fully always agree with all of this. Not everybody in the military agrees with all of this, but by 1917, they're not fully there with all of the root reforms of everything he wanted, but progress had been made, and it makes the U.S. military a bit more capable when they're deploying to France in 1917. Third, so 1914, World War I had already begun, but the United States is going to be involved in a few other operations before that, despite the being kept out of war by President Woodrow Wilson. The first being the American occupation of Haiti. So in 1915, the United States military, we invade and we occupy the nation of Haiti. Now, this is an occupation that lasts until 1934, and there were a few reasons for it. One being there was an investment based on a loan back in 1910 for the Americans into the Haitian financial system, and there was sort of questions about protecting the loans and the financial system. Secondly, there was this concern over foreign influence or foreign invasion in Haiti. There was this sort of defensive view towards the country. And thirdly, we can look at sort of the posture of the government the Americans are setting up in Haiti after 1915, which is very, 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 very much influenced by Jim Crow policy in America. So the role of race as a part of the occupation is a very big thing for us to acknowledge. Fourthly, we should acknowledge the punitive expedition to Mexico. And what you have in 1916 and 1917 is a series of attacks by Pancho Villa and other sort of allied individuals in the Southwest. And so you have a deployment of upwards of 10,000 U.S. soldiers, partly commanded by General John Pershing. This is a expedition where you start to see the use of mechanized vehicles a bit more. And there was some question as to whether or not the Americans were going to declare war against Mexico in 1917, if not for what happens in Europe. The fifth thing for us here would be the preparedness campaign. So World War I began in 1914, but the United States doesn't enter it until early 1917. But in that time, beginning 1915, 1916, you start to see these preparedness groups, militia groups, kind of popping up in different parts of the United States, clearly opposed to Wilson's lack of involvement in the war, and starting to prepare just in case, that they might be called upon. All right. Thanks so much.